It's car con carne. Let's eat in the car. It's car con carne. And now here's the star of our show, James Van Alstyne.
There it is. It's Wednesday. It's hump day. Doesn't feel like it. It feels like today's Tuesday. And what great news. It's not Tuesday. It's Wednesday. The week's heading toward the end. It's Car Con Carne. I'm James Van Alstyne, the Car Con Carne. This podcast, this video thing you're watching, if you're watching right now, brought to you by C&H Financial Services. C&H offers a variety of products ranging from traditional merchant accounts to a zero-cost payment processing solution, which eliminates the expenses tied to accepting credit cards. C&H also offers cost-effective commercial lending. Did I just say that? No. Offers cost. I'm having a night. C&H also offers cost-effective commercial lending programs to help you get your business the money it needs to make it through these unprecedented times. To learn more, to help your business out, contact C&H Financial Services at 855-600-2437 or go to chfs.us. He is a returning guest. He is an author. He is an expert on how to eat like a true Chicagoan. He is author Dennis Foley. You got to say it with the Chicago accent. It's not Chicago. It's Chicago.
Chicago, for sure.
Chicago.
Sure. Especially that's the way they spoke during my Streets and Sand days.
Back in the day when you worked for Streets and Sand. Dennis Foley, a more Chicago guy doesn't exist, and a more Chicago book has never been released. The new book is No Ketchup, Chicago's Top 50 Hot Dogs and the Stories Behind Them. You did the kind of research that scholars at like Yale go through, the labors you went through to get to the story, to learn, to further your education and share it with the masses. Really unprecedented in the history of Encased Meats. This is a fun book, and it just came out.
And it is, it was a difficult task getting out there and doing the research. As you said, 50 hot dogs in 50 days was my goal. And it ended up being, I ate right at 60 in those 50 days. I went out to some of my, my old faithfuls that I have been going to for years. And then I took up some of the advice from friends of mine who made suggestions. So, hitting all those places was a blast, and doing the reviews and getting a chance to talk to the owners was great.
Author Dennis Foley, are you living your best life?
I am. If you can go ahead and eat a bunch of hot dogs and write about them, what more can somebody ask for?
That's it. So 50 hot dogs in 50 days, or 60 hot dogs in 50 days. Will the next book be about the juice cleanse that followed all this? The commitment to superfoods and greens?
Yeah, not at all. Because, someone had asked me, I bet you after you finished off that 50th or 60th dog that you didn't have another hot dog for a while. And I said, I was out 4 days later having another hot dog. So, I'm fortunate. I don't know what it is. My body processes stuff. And I'm 6'3.5", about 220, 225. So, and I walk a lot. So when I would go out on those days and knock off 4 dogs, I'd come home and walk 4 miles. If I ate 2 dogs, I'd walk 2 miles, but that kept the weight off.
Well, you're one of those guys who has one of those freaky metabolisms that the rest of us hate you for.
It comes in handy when you like hot dogs and
no doubt. Yeah, you are so Chicago. You don't have blood in your veins. It's just au jus. It's just a fine gravy circulating.
Yep. Yeah. And then every now and then, you get a little, like the old, the days of the Saturday Night Live with our buddies, doing
super fans. Yeah.
You got to go ahead and, give it a little punch to let the stuff course through the veins.
So the question I've always asked, and I don't think it's as easily answered as it would appear, what makes a great Chicago dog? This is something you answer, because to a layperson, all hot dogs kind of seem the same. I mean, beyond the condiments, and we'll get to that. But for a layperson, yeah, okay, this hot dog tastes the same as this. But it comes down to a few things you mentioned. All beef. It has to be all beef.
Right. Yep.
And the snap. Explain the snap.
Yeah, and some people aren't a big fan of the dogs with snap. The dog with snap basically means that it's a dog that's encased in the skin. So when it has that curve to it, so when you bite into it, it gives you that little crunch, that pop. Younger people, for instance, kids, a lot of them don't really like the dog with snap. They like that skinless hot dog.
Mm-hmm.
And I like skinless hot dogs too. But if I have my way and I'm going to go get a dog that I want, it's going to be one that has that, encased in the skin, and it has that pop to it. And
steamed is essential.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Steamed. I'm one of the places I went to, a buddy recommended to me. They had a nice little steam table set up, but I think they were kind of moved on to doing other kind of foods, and that was secondary. And I didn't really know that. Went in there and ordered up a dog, and they put it in the microwave.
You can't do that.
Brought it back. I was like, maybe they're microwaving someone else's stuff. Then I saw them put the microwave dog into my stuff, and I was like, come on now. This is you don't microwave a hot dog.
What about someone who would char a hot dog? A lot of restaurants do that. They'll do a char dog. I think of Poochie's up in Skokie. They do a fine charred dog. Is that a violation?
Good hot dog service? Yeah, you know what, James? I've become a fan of the charred dog. I still prefer, the natural, steamed dog, and the original version, the Chicago style. But I'm open to a charred dog now. One of my favorite places that does the charred dog is Fatso's Last Stand.
Yeah,
there's one over in Ukraine,
which has moved since you wrote the book.
Yeah, there's a couple different spots. They have a couple locations, but they still have the one spot over there on Chicago Avenue. And I popped in there the other day, actually last week, and had myself a char dog from there. It's excellent.
Here's my problem with Fatso's. I love it. I've never been able to make it to the point where I've tried a hot dog. I always get seduced by the burger. I can never not order a burger there. So I've never even tried their hot dogs. I'm sure they're great, but the Fatso burger, forget it. Game over.
Yeah, the burger with the egg and all that stuff on there. Yep, that's
glorious.
Yeah. So
the Chicago dog, it really is all about the toppings, which you describe as the Magnificent Seven. And those are, I know you don't need a visual reference to crank these out. What are they?
Yeah, some people refer to it as Chicago 7. I was calling it the Magnificent 7, having fun with one of my old favorite movies too, Yul Brynner. You remember Yul Brynner, right?
Of course, Westworld.
Yeah, so the Magnificent 7, you started off, you got the dog in the bun. You're going to go ahead and give it that splash of mustard. You're going to toss on the onion. You're going to toss on the relish, and then the tomatoes, the pickle. Throw on 2 sport peppers, and then go ahead and give it the dusting, with the celery salt. And that, to me too, a lot of times if I order a dog to go and I open it up and start to eat it and it doesn't have the celery salt on there, I'm going to eat the dog and I'm going to enjoy it. But it's a little disappointing. I like the celery salt touch on there.
What about the color of the relish? Does it have to be neon?
To me, not really. I mean, I know, the neon color kind of, falls in line too with, like the offerings that they have from Vienna beef. But I'm fine with any kind of relish that they put on there as long as they offer it. If I go into a place, as a matter of fact, and I get 2 dogs, I generally get one with everything and one with no relish, just so I can, get a couple little different tastes going.
So for people who are just joining us, this is Dennis Foley. The new book is No Ketchup, Chicago's Top 50 Hot Dogs and the Stories Behind Them. If someone is interested in reading, acquiring, buying this book, where should they get it? Let's get that out of the way right now.
Yeah, and James, so folks can go ahead in a couple different ways. One of them I'm having a lot of fun with, but, the publisher offers the book. So, mcropress.com, mcropress.com. There's, a couple of the bookstores in the area, Bookies here in the on the south side in my neighborhood in Beverly has been a great supporter of authors and independent presses. So they have it here up on the north side. Quimby's is carrying it. Over on North Avenue in Bucktown. Mm-hmm. What's also pretty cool, it's obviously, available on Amazon too, but a number of the hot dog vendors are selling it. You go in, you can get a dog and grab a book, places like Byron's on 2 locations up north, and then out south, Fat Tommy's, and a place out in Oak Forest, Nicky V's, also known as Doug's Dogs.
If the word fat is in the name of a hot dog place, is that a good sign? Are you in good hands?
Definitely. Out here, out south by me, 2 of my favorite dogs, I like to call them the Fat Brothers. They're not related, but the Fat Johnny's on Western Avenue. It's an iconic place, has been there since 72. And then over in the Mount Greenwood area on 111th Street, Fat Tommy's. And A gentleman by the name of Dan Coogan owns the place. And when I go in there, I'll get a dog, but sometimes I like to push the limit. I'll grab one dog, and then I'll get either the butt kiss or the Ditka.
You wrote about that in the book. Yes. It keeps getting more and more heart stopping. It goes from Ditka to butt kiss, right?
Yeah. And I mean, when you think about it, I mean, picture a Polish wrapped in bacon.
Yep.
Then they toss it into the deep fryer and cook it up for about 5 or 6 minutes.
Amen.
Pull it out, put it in the bun, splash it with mustard, grilled onions, and cheese, and that's the Ditka. And then if you want the butt kiss, they throw the chili on top.
See, this is what people who live in the area should do when guests from out of town come here. Whenever someone comes from out of town, you see people taking them downtown to River North or obvious tourist places. If you want to give someone an authentically Chicago experience, shove a butt kiss in their mouth. I mean, that to me, that's Chicago. That right there.
Yeah, you can give him a good butt kiss. Hey, here it is. Eat this, and then talk about Butkus himself and go back into the days.
Exactly.
What
it's
Dick
a springboard. It's a springboard.
What Dick Butkus did, being Chicago homegrown and then playing for the Bears. It's cool.
So the book, again, no ketchup. You explain the difference between a thumbie and a pinky, and it really comes down to hot dog size. This is a weird conversation to have with you, but here we go. Why wouldn't you always go for a restaurant that serves thummies? Wouldn't thummies, just because of their girth, be better?
I think they can all, they're all tasty. Some of them will be you can get a thumbie and you can get a pinky, either, with the skin or skinless. But the deal is, generally what happens too is if it's a thumbie, it's a little, generally more, costly. Okay. But both of them are very tasty. Originally, when I was going through the book, I was seeing myself give the ones that offered thummies a little bit of a higher score. But, if you're getting a pinky, so the size, a hot dog as thin as your finger or one that's as thick as your thumb. If you're getting a pinky and the guy throws fries in there too, and it's kind of like the same price as a thumbie, that's still a pretty good bargain too.
Which leads me to Gene and Jude's, which is an iconic hot dog place, which notably does not include all of the Magnificent Seven in its offerings. Their dogs are definitely thin, but oh my God, they pour on French fries like they have something to prove.
Yeah, and then they've got the huge snap too. That place always has a line out the door, and for good reason. It's been kicking out great dogs for a long time. I had a couple of people bark at me because I had them listed as my number 3 place in the suburbs. And, they're certainly worthy of being a number 1, and they've been picked as number 1, in Chicago before. Mm-hmm. But for me personally, Gene and Jude's does the Depression style. So you don't have all the ingredients, as you mentioned, that you have in the Magnificent Seven. So when they do the Depression style, though, and they throw those fries on top, it really does give it an interesting taste because, some people just eat it with the fries right on there. Other people take it off, leave a little bit on. But, I really like Gene and Jude's. But, if I'm going to go out and I'm picking a place, I'm generally going to go to a place that offers all of those Magnificent Seven ingredients.
And I haven't been to all these places, and this is like a checklist. Getting a book like this is like getting marching orders. Here you go. Here's what you got to do. You got to try all these places. But while on the topic of Gene and Jude's, this is going somewhere. I went there maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. They really have a system in place, a really good system in place to COVID related. One person from each party in the place at one time. They've got someone kind of controlling the flow of traffic in and out of there. Really mindful how they've done it. They've done an excellent job with that. You mentioned COVID at the beginning of the book. I'm uncomfortable saying this, but it's not unreasonable to think that not all these restaurants will survive the economy and where we're at right now. It's a tough time. And you struck up a connection with all these mom and pop owners. And I'm sure that was kind of weighing on the back of your head as you wrote this stuff. Yeah, because,
what I have seen, because I've been out to a number of these places, in the recent months too, as you mentioned too, and, and seeing the steps that all these places are taking to ensure that the customer can come in and feel safe, whether it's, plexiglass and, the employees wearing the masks and masks are mandatory coming in, great steps. But even that being said, there's been a couple places in the book that have, fallen off already.
Wow.
I called up one place. It was one of my favorite places, and talked to the owner. And he said, they're out for a little bit, but they're looking to go ahead and buy a new location and come back in about another 2 months. So something like that was really good to hear. Some of the other places too, like one of my things that I really enjoyed about the book was those finds, those places that I didn't know about, discovering something new. And one of the places that I really enjoyed, buddy directed me to it, stepping out way out, in the area, go to Joliet, go another 15 miles to Wilmington, but the launching pad. And, they're temporarily closed. They've only been open about a year and a half or 2 years, but they're temporarily closed because, their wait staff is generally, older folks that were there kind of working, they like to have that, the reliable old people that were coming in and working, and they don't feel comfortable, putting them out there, during COVID. So they're going to hold off for a little bit while, but when they open up again, definitely a cool place to go and see.
A couple comments on the Facebook Live. First of all, Jamie says, okay, for reference, where's that butt kiss dog again?
Yeah, and that's Fat Tommy's in Mount Greenwood on 111th Street, about 2 blocks east of Kedzie.
Not to be confused with Fat Johnny's, which you describe in the book as the consummate hot dog shack. Yeah,
Fat Johnny's is at 72nd and Western, and I did give them my #1 rating for a Southside hot dog. It's been my place that I've been going to forever, and when you go there, everything is always fresh. It's a beat up old shack, but you comes out of there, the dog is always done right. The veggies and everything on there is solid, and it's steamed. The bun is steamed to perfection. And I like that. He doesn't do the pickle. He throws that long wedge of cucumber on there. And I'm a fan of that.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically the same thing, just a different stage of life.
Right. Exactly.
Clarissa says, "Da Bears." It's appropriate. Given where we're at. Athena says, "Hey, friends." Steve, my buddy Steve, a fine musician, a good human being, says, "Ann and Mike from the Byron's family say hi." Byron's, of course, mentioned in this book as well.
Yeah, Byron's, one of my favorite places. Being a Cub fan, if I head up towards a game, which hopefully we'll get to, sometime here before too long, who knows, maybe not this year, but they have the one Byron's, which is just around the corner from Wrigley on Irving and right off of Sheridan. And the other one that's about a mile away from there, but it's up on Lawrence and a block west of Ashland. And that is the consummate old school drag it through the garden dog.
Yep. And I love both locations. I used to live over by Lawrence and Ashland. So that was my go-to Byron's. That was the pre or post Aragon Ballroom Riviera concert. Hot dog place.
There you go. Yeah, you can't beat that for a stop. And for folks that really aren't familiar too with that whole drag it through the garden concept, not just the regular items, the Magnificent Seven, but he also has lettuce, green pepper, multiple pickles and cucumber. As I order all that, but I still don't get lettuce. I won't get lettuce on my hot dog. And then I'll take the green peppers and I'll pull them off and eat them on the side. Like a lot of it, he does layer so much stuff on there. It is like a side salad. It's really tasty. I choose to eat a lot of it on the side and then kind of focus on the dog at the end.
I'm with you on the lettuce. If I'm eating a hot dog, I don't want to be reminded of a salad. That's not the decision I've made by eating that hot dog. Don't remind me that is something I could have done instead. Lettuce must go.
Yeah, well, the green pepper can be on that same trail there, but I still get it with the green pepper just for kicks.
Well, here's the challenge I have with the sport peppers. Almost without fail, any hot dog joint, it is really hard to get them to stay in the dog. They almost always, usually it's 2 or 3 sport peppers and they roll out, or I have to really work to kind of tuck them in, because I don't like eating them solo, because that just seems a little masochistic.
Yeah, and I know when I'll always say, most places will say sport peppers, hey, you sure you want them? And I always say yes. Now, I generally take one off. I'll take the other one and, take a bite out of it, and then I'll sprinkle the juice across the dog. And then you still get that, that flavor without all that extra oomph. And that's just, one of the things I like to do.
That's a pro tip. Yeah,
I went to, I don't have my plaque around here, but I did go to Hot Dog University for Vienna beef.
Proud of you.
It's kind of research for this. And that's one of the things they talked about is, if someone doesn't like those sport peppers, they can still get a little bit of the flavor by, cracking it open or biting the tip and then putting the juice across the dog.
Brilliant. One of the things I like about the format of the book, and if people are listening or watching, it's not like a textbook, although there is a quiz. It's not like a textbook. It's a really quick, easy, fun read. The way you kind of bounce around from north to south side, it seemed a very even-handed approach as you're talking about all these different places. So it's not just, I'm going to read about all the north side places. I'm not from the south side. I'm not going to read that. You make it so that it is this very Chicago, well-rounded view. That had to be intentional. And
again, like you said, I didn't want to just have, south, north, west side, east side, whatever it might be. I kind of pieced them together, kind of laid things out so it had a certain flow to it. And then also, too, one of the things that I liked about the book, we tried to find ways to put it in there, but we have these, round the corner detours. If you, go get a hot dog somewhere, what else can you do in the neighborhood that's kind of fun and, a cool place to go and see? And so that kind of worked out, putting them in when we, went north, south, and shuffled things around. When I went back and looked at a lot of those detours, I was a little surprised, James, because several of them were alcohol related.
Huh. That is surprising.
A few craft breweries here and there. What can I say?
Yeah, we're in the golden age of craft breweries where they're on every corner.
Right, exactly. Yeah, we have a couple nice ones out here in my area in the Beverly neighborhood.
So I got a comment. This is going to be an interesting way to approach a comment on Facebook Live. It's from a restaurant owner I know, a very dear soul named Tyler, who owns Epic Deli in McHenry. He just shared a picture, which I want to share on this chat. It's not apropos of the places we're talking about in your book, because you do focus almost exclusively on the city. But I want to share a picture he sent. Where on earth did I save this is the real question. I'll get to that in a second. Where did I save this? I am the king of having way too many tabs open. It makes my colleagues insane. Oh, I can just share it from the Facebook page, I guess.
And when you mentioned that about it, I did focus primarily on the city because I wanted to hit the city hot dog joints. But then I did go out and hit some in the burbs because I had people that recommended this place or that place. And, a few of those I hadn't been to, and those ended up being some of those cool discoveries that I, came to enjoy.
Okay, so here I'm going to share this with you now. This is what Tyler from Epic Deli shared. It's a Chicago-style hot dog, except instead of a bun, it's a giant dill pickle.
Yeah, that's interesting looking there, huh?
That's inventive.
Oh yeah, that's cool. That might take a little getting used to, though. I like pickles, but I don't know if I like them that much.
That's a cool spin.
It is neat, though. I mean, if somebody's offering that and it's something different that people can go and check out, I think it's pretty cool.
And he was reverential with the celery salt. He did take care of that there.
Now, does that place actually offer that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if it was a photo that he found somewhere. That's cool then. Yeah. So
he's a mad scientist. I got to visit him. All right. So let's talk more about the restaurants in your book. Wolfie's is pretty much your go-to. That's like a north side. The sign, you mentioned the sign. That is a beacon to travelers to come stop there. It's so, this word's overused, but it's so iconic.
It is. I mean, it is a cool sign. The the monstrously tall fork, with the dog stuck in it, and when you're driving past that area on Peterson, there's no way that you near California, there's no way you can go past it without noticing it. And Wolfie's is a tremendous hot dog, and as I say, it's like you could give me a Wolfie's dog and a blind taste test, and I'm gonna be able to pick it out because it always has that. Everything's fresh. It's the dog with a good snap to it. The bun's always good, and so it would be Wolfie's, and then right, my other one that is my go-to in that area we talked about too is Byron's. I'm a big Byron's guy.
When I was a kid growing up, that area, that north side area, was defined by two hot dog joints. One is no longer with us. There was Wolfie's, and then there was Flukey's. Mm-hmm. That was. Do you remember Flukey's?
Yeah, I mean, I know of Flukey's. I never went there, but I've read about Flukey's, and I know, Bob Schwartz had a hot dog book, kind of like an encyclopedia, a little bit of a coffee table version with the history of the hot dog in Chicago too. And Flukey's held a high place in that book.
It's funny how these places stick in our memories. The hot dog joints, the true like neighborhood mom and pop places. They're just part of our lives growing up. One of the things that is fun in the book, a couple of around the corners. So you talk about the restaurants, but you also say, oh, if you're going to be there, you should also check out, and I think you mentioned Calumet Fisheries around the corner from one of the places.
Yeah, from it's that's kind of like a lot of people don't realize, especially if you're new to the area and you're living on the north side or something, that Chicago actually has an east side. It goes 5-6 miles from State Street towards the lake, and over on 95th Street there's a great hot dog joint called Skyway Dogs, and Calumet Fishery is only about 4 or 5 blocks down the street. So I joke around and say, hey, you can go pick up a dog over there at the Skyway, then go over to Calumet Fisheries and get some shrimp and do a little surf and turf. And it is a cool area. You can sit there. You got the the river coming through right there. You can see all the traffic with the barges going up and down, and then you got the big Skyway up above you, and you can it's got a little Rust Belt feel to it for sure.
It does, and it's great people watching because truly all walks of life go into Calumet.
Yeah. My one little around the corner from there is the sad around the corner, but that's the one that goes back to the 1960s, and the house that Speck went and
yes,
did his bad deeds is just around the corner from there.
So yeah, if you can learn so much from your book, you can learn serial killer history, hot dog information. It's all there. And let the record show.
Hey James, can I say one thing about one of my favorite little around the corners? And that was sad when I found this out, but I don't know, as a kid, if you were, I used to love magic shops, and we had a number of them here in the city, and now not so much. You can probably count them on one hand in the city and burbs, immediate burbs. But Ash's Magic Shop, which is on Western Avenue at about 50 North. I mean, I went in there and felt like I was 10 years old again. The whole place is just covered, floor to ceiling with, gadgets and magic tricks and boxes and all kinds of, fart perfumes and whatever it might be, and whoopee cushions. And Mr. Ash, someone did a documentary on him back a while ago. It's a great one to watch. I watched it, made me want to go in and learn more about him. And I went in and met him and his wife and had a great conversation with them. They were great. You kind of walk in the door and I don't see anybody, and they're sitting on the sides of the aisle, but they're blocked from all the boxes, and then all of a sudden 2 heads lean out to look at you to see who just came in.
That's amazing.
And had a great talk with them. And unfortunately, Mr. Ash just passed away about less than 2 months ago, but his wife is carrying on, kind of like as a way to pay homage to him. She's been there in the business all along, but she's keeping the place going, kind of like in his honor.
I love it. And so let the record show, you don't just talk about your typical $3 hot dogs. You talk about the high end dogs as well. You mentioned the Duck Inn, which is a venerated, well-respected place in town. Yeah.
That Duck Inn dog, they have, the Duck Inn itself is right there, 27th and Loomis, kind of like on the north end of Bridgeport. Or you can also go into Time Out Market, it's rolling again. And, they have the Duck Inn dogs that are offered there. But at the Duck Inn, the dog it's a $10 hot dog. But if you go during happy hour, it's $5, as are some of their good craft beers that they have. They're very well priced during happy hour. But that is a tremendous hot dog. I mean, it's long, it's on a bread bun. The chef, Kevin Hickey, guy that runs the place. I mean, he was the top chef at the Ritz-Carlton and places like in Dublin and London and Beverly Hills, California, and then here in Chicago. And he opened this place up in his old neighborhood. He grew up in Bridgeport and he wanted to do something there and carry on the family name. And he opened it up about 6 years ago. And that hot dog, it has duck fat in it, which really gives it a different flavor. It's outstanding.
It's funny. Kevin Hickey, Duck Inn did a pop-up. When a pandemic isn't happening, I work in the NBC Tower downtown, and they have restaurant pop-ups. And Duck Inn had a restaurant pop-up, and Hickey was behind the counter. And I told the people I was with, "That's Kevin Hickey." Crickets. I was excited though, because I mean he's a food rock star in town.
Oh yeah, and what I thought was really pretty cool too is here's this guy that's big time food man, big time chef, celebrity chef, and he was great about first of all I didn't think I'd get an interview with him, and he was great to do an interview, and then I was contacting places to see if they wanted to put a coupon in the book for like $1 off if you spend 10, and he says yeah, go ahead and put me in there. I'm going, the Duck Inn wants to be in here. He goes yeah, and put the Duck Inn dogs at Timeout Market too. So that was pretty cool of him.
I love it. And you talked to a bunch of different owners, moms and pops, and that rounds out the story you're telling, because it's not just about the dogs. It really is about the people who their whole lives are devoted to these shacks, stands, restaurants, places. And that was a really nice touch, I think, to the book.
Yeah, and I think, for me, doing the reviews and all that, that was fun, and I enjoyed writing them, and I had a chance to throw some humor in there. But I also know, that the hot dog, Chicago Dog, has been blogged about and written about a bunch. So, my goal of this book was to do something different, by way of doing the around the corner detours and the quiz and, the battle of the fiberglass hot dog mascots. But more importantly, I wanted to get the stories from these mom and pop owners, because we know that mom and pop businesses are falling by the wayside. And as you mentioned too in the book, I said, hey, and COVID's not going to help this at all. So getting their stories, because that is Chicago. These places, like you said, these are our neighborhood places. People get in fights over the hot dog over here is better than the hot dog at your place. What are you talking about? It's these are places with people that have been devoted their lives to it, and I wanted to tell their story. And I felt really got a great feeling from listening to these people and then being able to share their stories.
I love it. Again, the book, it is out now. It is No Ketchup, Chicago's Top 50 Hot Dogs and the Stories Behind Them. We mentioned the suburbs briefly. You talk about Mustard's Last Stand in Evanston in the book. Obviously, there's a whole world outside city limits screaming for your attention, Dennis.
Yeah, that could be something. We'll have to go out and venture out there. One place I really want to mention, though, is it's in the burbs. I had a friend of mine that said, hey, you need to check this place out. And I had never, I made the rounds during my days as a city worker, and we would stray off and go into the local suburbs too to get something good to eat. But I never heard of Henry's in Cicero. So when I went there, Tony Rotolo was the owner. He was a great guy. He kind of sat me down. He walked me around, showed me everything. This was pre-COVID. I wrapped up just before, things kind of went, south here in the area. But their hot dog is one of my favorite dogs now, because what he does, he actually has a steam generator in his basement. It's like a big old furnace, a big furnace with arms coming up. So he doesn't throw his hot dogs into the steam cart like most folks do into the steam table. He can go ahead and cook a hot dog in 7 seconds. So when you go in there, that you're getting a dog that's it hasn't been turning rubbery and sitting in a steam table for a long time. It's not a David Berg or a Vienna beef or a Red Hot Chicago. He put his own little, ingredients together, and he has a place up in Michigan that makes it for him.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah. When you combine that with the fact that you get this always fresh dog, it's really good.
And he's doing some kind of magical hot dog science.
Yeah, he showed me when I was there. I was like, oh, I got to see this thing, because when I went down in the basement to look at the steam table or the steam generator, all I could think about, was the little story I used to read. I have 3 boys to them when they were a little kid, Mike Mulligan and his steam shovel. That's what I thought about. It's like, here's this big steam machine with arms going around. And I'm thinking of Mike Mulligan and the steam shovel. But then he brought me upstairs, went over to the, where the hot dogs sit in the bin, turned it on, and, it was a blast of the steam coming in, and boom, the dogs were ready to go.
I love it. All right. One more time. The book is No Ketchup, Chicago's Top 50 Hot Dogs and the Stories Behind Them. I loved it. It was a read it in one night kind of book for me. But, feel free to take your time. It's super fun. And like I said, it's like a checklist for me. I want to thank everyone who's been watching on Facebook. I want to thank everyone who's listening and watching on YouTube, etc. But Dennis, you're awesome. Thank you for doing this.
Hey, this was great, James. I appreciate you having me on.